Ahead at 4:30 with the recent stretch of severe spring storms, we'll share how you can ready your home and your finances in case disaster strikes. Plus, America's rural healthcare system is in crisis. Emergency rooms are understaffed, first responders underpaid. We're speaking to people on the front lines about how they hope to fix this system.
And rain chances continue for most of this week. Timing out those showers as Mountain News First at 4 continues.
Mountain News First at 4 continues.
A streak of bad, severe weather has stretched 14 days in a row in parts of the country, with at least one tornado reported in the U.S. all those days, starting April 25th and going through last Friday. Emily Schmidt explains what you can do to prepare for damages in case you're in the path of the next storm.
This spring has brought some wild weather. The Storm Prediction Center confirmed at least 200 tornadoes over more than 2 straight weeks. Split-second damage requiring long-term recovery.
It's going to be just a lot of work to get this back in shape again.
The weather is changing. So even if you've never experienced a disaster before, you need to do some research on your area and see how likely you are to experience a disaster in the next few years.
Shannon Martin of Bankrate says these storms are a reminder to prepare for potential disaster by battening down your financial hatches, especially ahead of hurricane season, which begins June 1st.
For your insurance, you should speak with your agent and make sure to inquire about any coverage gaps. Depending on where you live, things like wind and wildfire might be excluded. Flood and earthquakes are generally always excluded from your policy. So if you don't have separate standalone policies, you might really leave yourself open for a big financial loss.
Martin says you can get your physical house in order as well. Get your roof inspected, test garage doors, seal gaps. Think about how to cover windows before the storm hits. The kind of disaster may change across the country. Great Plains tornadoes, California wildfires, Texas flooding. But a spokesperson for nonprofit industry association, the Insurance Information Institute, says last year homeowners insurance costs jumped around an average of 10 to 12% nationwide. And in some states, insurers are pulling out of more disaster-prone markets, leaving homeowners with fewer options, often at even higher costs. In Washington, I'm Emily Schmidt reporting.
Wildfire smoke from Canada is having an impact on air quality in the upper Midwest. Smoke from more than 100 Canadian wildfires has now spread into the U.S., triggering air quality alerts in Wisconsin and Minnesota. The scene is similar to last summer when residents in multiple states, including here in Kentucky, dealt with hazy skies and smoky air. Experts say Canada's unprecedented fires could send even more smoke further south this year.
I would suspect it may even be worse this year. We had very large amount of dormant fires in the Northeast and south of our community. Very little snow, virtually no snowpack. And we entered the spring in a Category 5 drought situation.
So far, the wildfires in Canada have burned more than 13,000 acres. Officials in Minnesota are urging people to limit their time outdoors and to keep their windows closed.
Well, hopefully you were able to enjoy the nice weather yesterday also for the first half of your Monday, because we are tracking some more moisture for the rest of today and for most of this week. Up on the radar for the most of us, we are dry right now, but we are tracking a few light showers close to the Kentucky and Tennessee border from Wayne County close to Monticello, pushing into parts of Pulaski County, also into Whitley and McCreary County, and a first alert for Knox and Bell counties. A few light showers moving into your direction as well. Here's a live look from I-75 and Corbin, and we are calm at this location for now, but again, a few showers not too far away, up to 70 over in Corbin. For most of us, we're in the upper 60s to lower 70s and a few middle 70s near and north of the Mountain Parkway, up to 76 in Irvin. Also for Prestonsburg, up to 77 for Moorhead, down to 69 for Middlesboro, and 64 over in Jacksboro at this hour. Those rain chances continue for most of this week, also tracking some areas of dense fog to wake up on your Tuesday, and those temperatures are close to average this week. Most of us see upper 60s to lower 70s on Tuesday, Wednesday, and some middle 70s by Thursday, Friday. No severe storms, but a few heavier showers cannot be ruled out. More details on those rain chances coming up in just a few minutes. Steve?
Cameron, thanks. Most universities are still trying to hold graduation ceremonies despite concerns about protests. The result was several weekend incidents. Pro-Palestinian students are finding ways to protest during university commencement ceremonies. Pomona College outside Los Angeles says it decided ahead of last night's service to move it off campus for safety reasons. That's in response to demonstrators occupying the original venue.
As our universities celebrate, we should also be extremely critical of their involvement that has led to the decimation of entire educational infrastructure.
In North Carolina, a video shows about 30 students at Duke University walking out of Sunday's ceremony. Another walkout was at Virginia Commonwealth University Saturday. Chanting also disrupted UC Berkeley's ceremony the same day. The healthcare system in rural America is pushed to the brink. Hospitals are low on beds and understaffed. Medical workers are overworked and patients are traveling hours just to get quality care. Reporter Peter Zampa has more on the struggles of healthcare in rural areas in this week's Listening to America.
Rural communities across this country are medically underserved. More than 400 rural hospitals are at risk of closing. That's according to healthcare consulting from Chartis. I spoke to Bonnie Kirchhoff, a woman trying to navigate this overstretched system.
I love the outdoors, getting outdoors, enjoying the community and the people here.
Bonnie has lived in Northeast Vermont for much of her life, but living in a remote area suddenly turned complicated.
About 7 years ago, I had sudden hearing loss and I couldn't hear anything. There was nobody here that could figure it out. I had to call a friend in Illinois and they actually helped prescribe something, and if I hadn't reached out to her, I would have been permanently deaf.
Now Bonnie's seen 3 specialists at Dartmouth Medical Center, 90 minutes from home.
Sometimes it gets to be overwhelming and you get tired.
Long distances also a problem for Calix, the ambulance service in St. Johnsbury. They take calls up to an hour and a half away.
How often does it seem like you're too late?
Cardiac arrest is the one call that time is of the essence. So you have roughly about 8 to 10 minutes to get someone there with high quality CPR and an AED on their chest. Similar, if you're bleeding out, you will bleed out by the time we get there.
Michael Wright drives us around as his radio blares with typical calls.
Gonna be a male in his 30s, believed to be overdosing.
He says the region is older, poorer, and dealing with an opioid epidemic. Here in Vermont, about 75% of rural hospitals are operating at a loss. Take Northeastern Vermont Regional Hospital. It has an ER, birth center, surgical services, and more. But there are some services they just can't provide with their limited resources.
We lose a lot of money on Medicaid because it does not reimburse at the level that covers the cost of delivering the care. Medicare is a little bit better. And when you have a small rural state with a fragile economy that can't sustain a strong employment base that has a lot of commercial insurance, it inherently makes the mix very fragile.
Then there's the issue of staffing. Lower pay and a lack of housing in the area make recruitment and retention hard. That means the employees they do have are stretched thin.
I love doing this job, want to provide for my community and be there.
The search for innovative solutions continues. And in the meantime, communities like this one have to make do with what they have in hopes that they can hold on just a little longer. I'm Peter Zampa, listening to America.
Millions of Americans and people across Europe were treated to a spectacular sky show over the weekend. That's because of a series of powerful solar storms sparked brilliant colored light displays across the northern hemisphere beginning late Friday night. The aurora borealis, more commonly known as the northern lights, are visible when there's an interaction between the solar wind environment and Earth's magnetic field.
We had a particularly violent interaction that ended up sending particles into our atmosphere, electrons, protons, and those interact with the constituents of our atmosphere to produce these beautiful lights.
Saw all kinds of pictures from around here over the weekend. Scientists say the geomagnetic storms disrupted GPS satellites and some power grids as well. It was labeled a historic G5, the highest level on the ranking scale. A solar storm of that size has not been seen on Earth since 2003. Coming up on First at 4, if you have not made your travel plans for Memorial Day, you better hurry up. Why this year is expected to be the busiest in nearly 20 years.
Plus, we are tracking some light sprinkles this evening, but more showers are on the way. Those details after this break.